Hello everybody and welcome to the BA's 2024 Member Forum, whether you are in the room or joining us on Zoom. I'm Hazel Broadfoot and I am for a little while longer the BA President. I say a little while longer partly in jest. In the normal run of things, this would have been the BA's annual meeting, at which we'd approve the nominations of the new BA President. Incredibly, I've been doing this role 2 years. Ooh. Whoops. The new BA President, the new Vice President, the new Advisory Council members, and we'd have presented a review of the year and the annual accounts. However, you may have noticed that London Book Fair this year is a month earlier than last year, and we've known for the last 10 months that it would be virtually impossible to prepare and sign off audited accounts to present a month earlier. And so it proved. Our new Group Finance Director, Phil Goodson, has been in post only since August and is getting to grips with the structure and finance of the BA Group. Phil is keen to make his first AGM and accounts presentation as effective as possible, so we decided it would be better to move the AGM to allow audited accounts to be presented properly to the membership. So I agreed, along with our Vice Presidents Fleur Sinclair and Debbie James, to stay in post a little longer to allow for the AGM to take place on the 30th of April at the BA in London, where audited accounts will be presented. Do you want me to go on to a different... Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Damaging the fixtures and fittings.
Seamlessly done.
Sorry, that sounded as if it was very floaty sound, so I apologise if it was difficult.
Start again.
And now I'm going to juggle a microphone and my cue card, so forgive me if it all goes wrong. Anyway, Fleur and Debbie and I all agreed that we would stay in post a little while longer. The AGM will take place on the 30th of April at the BA in Bellyard, and we'll present properly audited accounts then. And as BA members, if you're a BA member, you're invited to that AGM. However, to put you out of your misery, I can report that you'll receive the AGM papers over the Easter weekend. I'm not sure how much of a delight that is, but that's when you're going to get them. And you'll see that our nominated BA president is Fleur Sinclair of the Seven Oaks Bookshop, and our current VP. And yes, a round of applause. Debbie James of the Kibworth Bookshop is nominated to remain in post as Vice President, and the Advisory Council's nomination for our second VP, who will no doubt be approved by the AGM, is Mary Oliver of the Lighthouse Bookshop in Edinburgh. So 3 fantastic booksellers who I'm delighted to be handing the reins over to in 6 weeks' time. And I would just like to point out, for only the second time in its history, that means that the officer group of the BA will be all female. And also to point out that it is not so very long since the first woman president was appointed, which was in 2001. And it feels really special and a harbinger for the future that we're about to appoint our first woman of colour as president. So can we have a round of applause again for all of those nominations? And then finally to say, we're planning at the AGM to make some tweaks to the MEMS and Arts. And for those of you who, like me, had no idea what MEMS and Arts were, they're the memorandums and articles, the rules that govern the association. And that's what caused us to move the AGM, because we were not allowed to hold the AGM without presenting audited accounts. So we're going to change that slightly so that in future, if the London Book Fair moves, we will still be able to hold our AGM without presenting fully audited accounts. All of which brings me to this member forum, which we're delighted to be holding now. We've held a member forum for members since 2020 after the formal AGM, and it proves an excellent opportunity to gather booksellers together at the fair, to update you on developments and projects, and to introduce you to BA Advisory Council members, and to reintroduce you, if you need it, to the staff of the BA group. So in only a slight deviation from the normal AGM activity, we'll have a review of the year from Meryl. Then Meryl will introduce Phil Goodson, our new BA Group Finance Director, who'll give a general view on BA Group finances. And then finally, we're going to hear from Alex de Berry, the Managing Director of Book Tokens, who's going to present some market research that he's been doing with bookshops to help us all maximise the benefits flowing from the scheme. And after that, we'll open the floor for member questions and introduce you to your Advisory Council members, who are your reps within the BA governance structure. So, over to Meryl for a review of the year.
Thank you. Can you see me? It's not, the sightline's not great, but anyway, I shall lurk here. Okay. Right, I'm going to do my normal gallop through what we've been doing over the last 12 months to let you know what's been going on your behalf by us. Technically, we are presenting the annual review as it would have been to the AGM, so that will reach you. Alan, is it going out in the post to everybody shortly, the annual review in the post? We've got some on the stand, I think. Yes, he's saying yes. So that is, I'm always really proud when that arrives from the printer, because it does sum up, it's our story, and we tell that story to the members, which is only right and proper. I start all my presentations these days with a reiteration of our vision and mission. The mission obviously is the pithier thing to reiterate to you, which is our job at the BA is to support, represent, promote, and celebrate bookshops and booksellers. And that is the bookshops, the places and the people. It's really important that we do both of those things. The business plan is something that we craft in at the late part of the year. So in the autumn every year, we put the budget together with the business plan. And our mission as part of the business plan for this year was obviously creating a sustainable bookselling landscape. And the pillars of delivering that are as listed there. So advocacy, support, promotion, and learning. We represent booksellers of all shapes and sizes. We have W.H. Smith and Waterstones in membership, and we have over 1,000 independents. And that's a broad church, and sometimes that's challenging, but I think we very much feel on the whole it's brilliant that we're able to represent the whole high street. The only significant bookseller we have not got in membership is Amazon, which suits us fine. We have produced a leaflet on the BA and how it works. If you want a copy of that, I can send you a soft copy. I just thought I would reiterate what the group structure looks like for those of you who may be new and haven't seen this before. We're a three-legged stool. We have three divisions in the business. There's the Booksellers Association, which is the trade association traditionally. We have two wholly owned subsidiary companies in Book Tokens and Batch. And above that structure sits a group board, which is made up of the executive directors and the officers of the Booksellers Association. So it's a mixture of exec and non-exec. Importantly, off to one side, but crucially reporting into the group board, is the Advisory Council, which is, some of you are in the room today. So that's a really important part of our direction in terms of trade policy and strategy, is that we constantly check back with booksellers that we're doing the right thing. The exec directors, just reiterating who we all are. Fraser, I think, is in the room somewhere as well. He's right there in the front. And Izzy is at the back. And obviously Phil and Alex are with me on the stage. Our bookseller leadership team is easily as important as our exec team, and Hazel's already alluded to the fantastic team of women who work with us on a daily basis sometimes to deliver the BA strategy. The bookseller leadership team is rounded out by the council members. This would have changed today a little bit with the new council members coming on stream, but that will now happen at the end of April. They're a fantastically collegiate group. If you're ever interested in thinking that you might want to get more involved in the BA, think about it. For the future then, please let us know. We've got mixture, we've got W. Smith, we've got Waterstones, we've got quite a large number of independents on there, and we've co-opted Nigel, who I've just spotted at the back from Gardeners, who's a great help to us on that body. Membership numbers and performance. I just thought when I do presentations to the council, I often just hint at or not dwell, but just touch on the British Retail Consortium figures, because obviously booksellers are retailers, and the retail landscape is not easy. The high street is very compromised, and this is, you'll see that dark purple line is what 2023 did, which is bumping along just above zero in terms of retail sales. That's total retail sales, includes food. And of course, the story gets a bit grimmer when you take food out, because food retailers tend to do quite well, especially at Christmas time. But we're bumping along below zero there. So I think booksellers have tended to outperform their high streets over the last few years, which is a good story. And I think you're very often leaders in your communities as well. This is week 7. Nielsen send us total consumer market and Irish consumer market numbers every week. Things are starting to recover. There was a big hole in the market because of Spare last year, straight after Christmas time, and we're now starting to see we're comparing like with like again, which is quite nice, because it was a pretty scary hole. It was a global hole as well. Membership numbers. The media are always really interested in the membership numbers of independents, particularly because that's the bellwether. They see it as the bellwether measure for the health of the high street. We've got over 1,000 independents still. We had a 7-year streak of growth in bookshop numbers, which was fantastic, and we didn't actually anticipate that through COVID, but it happened, it did. We started to plateau at the top, so we're bumping along at the top, which is better than bumping along at the bottom, but you can see that it's starting to flatten a little bit. We always get good press coverage when we go out in January to talk about membership numbers, and it was a fairly nuanced story this year, because we had to tell the story that we'd had more bookshops open in 23 than in 22, but we'd also had quite a lot more closures. So the net number was 8% down, but we'd still had a lot of openings. So the press were actually really supportive. The trade press always are, and the Times was very supportive this year. It's normally the Guardian that picks up the story, but the Times ran 4 stories on independent bookshops in January, which was amazing. This feels like a while back. This was the British Book Awards winners last year. We've just had the regional winners announced this morning, which is very exciting. So congratulations to those of you in the audience. I know some of you are here who are in the running for this year. Member concerns. We take the temperature as much as we can of what your concerns are. We do a Christmas trading survey, and we add some questions onto that to find out what your concerns are. This is for 2024. No surprise, consumer confidence and the cost of living is right at the top there. And there are some new aspects that have started to appear over the last couple of years. One is staff costs. That didn't used to be an issue. Recruitment and paying staff was not really an issue for booksellers. It now is, because we're living in the culture, in the climate that we are. And very alarmingly, crime, abuse and intimidation in store has crept on there as one of the main concerns. That's been particularly acute in Ireland over the course of last year, which I'll come back to. Also scoring high were obviously concerns around rates, rents, school and bookshop events. And I think one of the things that's important to check with you all as well is what you want us to be doing on your behalf. I think through COVID we proved, and thanks largely to what Laura McCormack did when she was very newly in post, we proved the benefit of advocacy, and we proved how important it was to amplify your voices to government. And I think that's been proven by the fact that advocacy to both the government and the industry is now at the top of the list of priorities that you think we should be doing on your behalf, because you all worked with us to amplify that voice. Obviously, the classic things that we do, goods and services for members, are still on there. I'm not going to dwell too much on national book tokens, because Alex is going to walk you through it with great thoroughness shortly. But just to say, we had a good Christmas. Obviously, our book tokens fortunes are linked to bookshop fortunes. When lockdown happened, we didn't sell very many book tokens, did we? But we had a good Christmas, 6% up in the UK and 4% in Ireland. And obviously, the integrations with the EPOS systems goes on apace. And the multi-factor authentication, I know, was a bit painful for some booksellers, but I think has calmed down and is now working beautifully. Yes? Yes, we'll say yes. Batch and Batchline, the team are in the room. Batch payments and returns is the classic, if you like. Continues to deliver fantastic value for money and tremendous. It's a great service for booksellers. We have Irish and UK booksellers using it all the time. We also have Batch operating in 82 other countries over and above the UK and Ireland. And we have Batch for Books in the US, which delivers the same service to American booksellers who really need it. Don't they, Fraser? So that's good. Batch obviously remains focused on its strategy of continuous development, and our purchase of the Bertline system out of Bertram's when it went under during COVID has allowed us to invest in and improve that system. And Batchline release 5.1 launches today, and I think Izzy's been demonstrating it on the stand. So if you haven't seen that yet, do go to the Batch stand and see that. Batchline is the only stock management, because it's run by the Trade Association, it's the only system that's been created and run solely for bookseller benefit, and it does allow you to run your whole bookshop system in one virtuous circle. I'm not going to go through that in tremendous detail because Izzy and Fraser are much better qualified to do that. But we've integrated with Garlink, we're integrated with Xero and QuickBooks, so you can basically manage your inventory payments and returns through Batch and Batchline. I don't know if Emma's in the room actually, but Emma Bradshaw, who heads up our campaigns, has worked incredibly hard to streamline the campaigns work that we do. Our consumer-facing campaigns consists of our umbrella campaign, which is Books Are My Bag. I'm not going to run through the immense amount of detail that Emma's shared with us here, but we have done a lot of work to streamline that brand, and covered by that brand are all of the book promotion things that we do to consumers to help you sell more books. It's important that we are the conduit there between publishers and booksellers, and we've got much better at reporting back the impacts of that book promotion work to the publishing community. So we do Indie Book of the Month for fiction and children's. We took book time on from Bertram's when it went under during COVID as well, and Ruth Hunter joined us as a permanent member of staff to edit that. We do it 6 times a year now. The first box of 50 is free to any bookseller that wants to take it. If you're not taking it, it's very popular with bookshop consumers and the booksellers who use it. So do try it out if you haven't done so. Ruth also manages the editorial on and book selection on our summer books and Christmas books catalogues, which have been taken entirely in-house at the BA. Used to be run as a joint venture. An Independent Bookshop Week hits its 15th year this year, so that's been going a solid number of years, pretty well established across the sector, and a good opportunity to celebrate and make a good positive noise about independent bookshops in the summer. We change the look and feel of that every year, and it allows you to bedeck your shops. We also promote an Indie Book Awards project as part of that, so that again allows book promotion as part of Independent Bookshop Week, so you can generate some sales as a result of the work that we've done on that. We always use booksellers to help us choose the books that are in that. So the independents have Independent Bookshop Week in the summer. All of our members can take part in Bookshop Day in the autumn, and Bookshop Day sort of kicks off, it's timed to kick off the Christmas selling period. It's become a great opportunity to create social media noise, and we can create central noise that you can then benefit from and amplify in your communities and in your shops. And we also have a Readers Award project as part of Bookshop Day, which is in November, and again allows those books to sell through into Christmas. We are unusual as a trade body because we represent Ireland and the UK, so we have 2 countries, and we try and deliver equivalent services to the Irish members as we do in the UK. Irish Book Week is our equivalent of Bookshop Day. It kicks off at the same time, and we've got a brilliant group of volunteer booksellers that work with us in Ireland, and it's really starting to take off, so that's very pleasing. You know all those people, I'm sure, our team. One of the newer things we've done is to start promoting debut author focus. I think that's only gone out once so far. Excuse me, but we try and just constantly take the temperature of what you want us to do, how you want us to promote books to your consumers. And we were thrilled to work with the Nero team to put together the Nero Book Awards behind the scenes. When Costa went, it left a big gap in the year, and we're really happy to have been working with the Nero team. The winners are announced on Thursday this week, so hopefully they'll make a big splash. The other parts of the work that we do, we talk to publishers and authors all the time about the lazy linking to Amazon that goes on online, and we always try and tell them that they should be linking to bookshops, whether that's Waterstones, bookshop.org, or individual bookshops that they're working with. Help us to get that message through, please, because the more we say it all together, the more they'll listen. it can be incredibly frustrating. I know Hazel's had terrible experiences with authors coming into the shop and then the publicist posting to Amazon to buy the book, and it's not on. So we need to keep pushing that point. World Book Day just happened. I'm sure you all had a great time organising events, having children in the shop, and you going into school. So thank you for the work that you do on that. I just want to gallop through some of the member services we have. Kate Gunning heads up our membership development, and Pippa is here, I think, as well, who looks after our membership admin. We've got a whole range of member services. We try and deliver you as many services as we can to justify the subscription that you pay us. But that's just the baseline. I think more important than anything is the sense that you belong to an organisation that's responsive to your needs. You'll have had this booklet with your subscription invoices in January. It lays out all the services in one place. I put this one in because Dojo came up at last year's AGM, and I know that a lot of booksellers had trouble with the Dojo merchant rates. We have been talking to them, and we are still looking to bring on another supplier so that you're not only reliant on Dojo to integrate with Batchline and to do your merchant services. So that is an ongoing conversation, and it seems to have gotten a bit better through the course of this year. BA Learning is something we're very proud of. We've started that over the last couple of years and invested a lot of time and effort in that, and we've streamlined what we're offering. So BA Welcome is where we try and equip people who want to open bookshops, because there's still many, many people who want to open bookshops, with a really sort of coherent amount of resources to help them get ready to do that. Our Skills Hub is where we've created, Sheila O'Reilly looks after that. I think she's in the room somewhere, possibly. She's there in the middle. So that's where we've put all of the content. So some of that will be events that we run. We'll take the content from the event and put it on the Skills Hub. Some of it is created independently for the purpose of putting it on the Skills Hub. So take a look if you haven't already. We also run a confidential mentoring program. So those of you who might be looking for a little bit of objectivity or a little bit of advice from someone who's not you and not inside your head, it can be incredibly valuable. It's free, we fund it. It's a one-to-one relationship that you have with a mentor. It's very much about working on the business, and it's been, I think, life-changing for a lot of booksellers. So we have 4 mentors who would be one would be allocated to you. So think about it if you feel that you would like that. We also run a group coaching project, which is underway for this year. At the moment, it's just launching. That's a group of 5, 6, 7, 8 booksellers who work together with a trained coach. Very different from mentoring, meets a different need, but again has been very, very valuable for those that have used it. Baseline lives inside BA Learning now. It's our benchmarking tool where you can measure your performance against other bookshops who are similar to you. And again, that has been a great snapshot for us to see how the independent sector is doing, and for booksellers to make plans on the basis of how they're performing against their peers. Coming back to advocacy, I said earlier how important it was to members now, which is brilliant. We try and represent bookselling wherever we can, so we're on any number of bodies that look after retail generally, or they look after international bookselling. We're involved in World Book Day, in the Book Trade Charity, bookshop.org, and we obviously participate in all the industry body initiatives like on sustainability and inclusion, so that bookselling has a voice wherever the trade is talking to itself. Advocating for books and bookselling in government terms can be, well, there's certainly not very much going on in government terms in the UK right now, but when there is stuff going on in government, we do a lot of work. Laura's been doing a lot of work in Ireland at the moment because there's a 30-day payment limit on invoices coming from the EU, which could be catastrophic for. It's across the European Union, so we're trying to lobby on that to tweak that. School books have been a huge issue in Ireland. There's been a change to the way the government has funded the provision of school books to parents, and then more generally, we produce manifestos in the run-up to. Well, certainly, there's going to be a lot of elections this year. We also are part of the European Booksellers Federation RISE bookselling project, which has been a wonderful thing to watch unfold. We've had booksellers travel all over the world to work in bookshops and to come to events like London Book Fair or our conferences. And it takes place, excuse me, in Lisbon next week, which is very exciting, if a little bit crazy to be going straight from London Book Fair to Lisbon. I referred to the problems that we'd had in Ireland, that Irish booksellers had with far-right protesters last year, going to bookshops and libraries and objecting to the books that were on the shelves in those bookshops and libraries. It was really horrifying. I think I'd never expected to have to live through that happening to our members. Excuse me, but happen it did. We pulled together quite a lot of information on de-escalation for bookshops in Ireland. And we also will support, this is Mog and Pauline who run Warwick Books, and they were the subject of homophobic abuse by a customer during the course of last year. So that's the sort of thing that's starting to happen now, which is very troubling. And we'll continue to support bookshops in that arena. We also work on the more dry, I suppose. Laura does a fantastic job on looking at regulations and legislation coming through the governments. And we've done a lot of surveying of you. So we're very, very appreciative when you fill in the surveys that we send you. We know we do it a lot, but it allows us to get evidence data that we can then take to publishers, take to the government. So we're not just talking from our perspective, we can evidence what you have told us. So that's just a selection of some of the stuff we've been doing. We're working on a really exciting project with the Arts Council at the moment, where we're going to demonstrate the impact of book selling on the culture and society of the country. So I'm hoping that that will be something we can really use with government. And this is the sort of thing that we'll create with our survey results, so that we can put it out, let you use infographics on social media and just demonstrate the value of book selling. We also have relaunched our Shop Floor Publishers project. So if any of you would like to have a senior publisher come and work in your shop for a day, that can be a fantastic piece of advocacy, because you are advocating for yourself in your shop. And this was a session we did at the BA conference last year, where we had 3 pairs of publishers and booksellers. And Debbie had David Shelley from Hachette come to work. And that was, I think it was fantastically valuable. So Debbie can tell you all about that later. We also have a supply chain working party, which is chaired by Andy Rossiter. And we go and we wear silly hats and high-vis jackets, so you don't have to. We've been to HarperCollins and to PRH recently. This was only last week. We went up to Glasgow to see the new distribution centre at HarperCollins. So it's really proven fantastically beneficial to advocate for you in those environments. Actually, I might just skip through this, because I know I'm taking too much time here. Member engagement, we try and pull together booksellers as much as we can in your special interest groups, things that matter to you. We have equality and inclusion group, we have a sustainability group, we have our supply chain working party, and we pull people together regionally, booksellers regionally. So we've had a lot of success working with HarperCollins, Harper North and Bookselling North, and we've had a number of meetings of Bookselling London as well as our work that we do in Scotland, Wales and Ireland. And our events, here we all are, we know the benefits of events, and we know how much you all get out of being together. This is last year's London Book Fair. Our conference this year is in Hinckley Island again in September, so please do come along. Last year's was brilliant. We had over 300 bookshops there. We just had our Irish conference a couple of weeks ago, we had over 200 booksellers there, and that was a fantastic event. And we've got our Scottish conference in the middle of May. And our Welsh conference, which I mentioned earlier, we did that dual language, so we did that Welsh and English simultaneous translation, and we'll do that again this year. We also run bookshop socials, where we bring booksellers together in a bookshop, wherever you happen to be, and then we get a publisher to take everyone out for dinner, often bring an author. And it's a really good way of booksellers coming together without you all having to come to London or come to conference. We come to you. So if you want to host one of those ever, let us know. And Parliamentary Book Awards happened not too long ago. That's a really good way. We work with the Publishers Association to come together in Parliament and invite as many booksellers as we can to celebrate the books that get voted on as the winners there. Inclusion and representation. I was on a panel this morning talking about this. We have a group of booksellers that we work with on this. It's obviously crucially important that we try and diversify bookselling, because it's diverse in some ways but not in others. We have been working with the other trade bodies, with the Society of Authors and the Publishers Association, on an industry statement on professional values, which is about mutual respect and how we deal with each other as professionals in the industry. And we just published yesterday our workforce diversity survey, which is the second year that we've done that. And we had a lot more booksellers take part, which was great. We had a lot more booksellers from Ireland, interestingly, take part. So we've got some new data, and again, it's the importance of having that evidence data. We worked with the trade bodies on a careers event in the summer last year, or it was this time last year actually, to promote the book industry to young people between 16 and 24 who might not have thought of a career in the book industry. So that seems important to reach people from underrepresented communities. And sustainability, I'm getting to the end. We've got a sustainability manifesto for booksellers. We've run conferences, and we've still got funding in our sustainability grants project. So we'll be coming out in the next few months. If you've got any project that would count as a sustainability project, you can apply for a grant from us for up to £1,000. So that's it. Quick gallop. And I'm going to hand over to Phil, who's our new Group Finance Director. And he's going to tell you.
Wow. It's quite a lot, right? Thank you, Mel. That was an excellent summary of everything that the BA stands for and does for its members. Hello and good afternoon. I'm Phil Goodson, and as I have been introduced, I'm the new Finance Director. And I want to say a big thank you to Hazel and the Group Board for agreeing to delay in the presentation of the annual accounts. Before I joined last year, it had already been identified that the timing of the London Book Fair was going to present a challenge for me to have to prepare the accounts ready for approval. So, as Hazel has already said, the AGM will take place on the 30th of April, where audited accounts will be presented and the BA President, Vice President and Council nominations will be approved. Again, as Hazel has already stated, it makes perfect sense to slightly tweak the BA's Articles of Association and Memorandum of Association to allow us to hold our AGM without fully audited accounts being available, and so we will be able to revert to an AGM at the London Book Fair in 2025. Now, for those who I haven't met before, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce myself. A very, very long time ago, I did a history degree at Nottingham University, and naturally, I decided to choose a career in accounting because I thought it would offer a variety of career opportunities, which I think is probably fair. So I trained with EY, as they are known now, or Ernst & Young, as they were known, and qualified as a chartered accountant. Now, I have worked in a small number of industries, and I've been very, very fortunate to have travelled extensively with work. I've been able to live in Copenhagen, Miami, and Madrid along that journey. And I've also the experience of previously working for a trade association, and this was the National Pharmacy Association. There are similarities between the MPA and the BA in that they both offer a wide variety of products and services to their members, and both are pillars of our high streets in the retail space, bringing the sharing the pressure, obviously, that this brings. However, their business models are massively different, as 90% of a pharmacy's income is derived from the government through the reimbursement of drug costs. Now, I don't think you'll be surprised with my first impressions of the BA, where the culture is extremely friendly and welcoming, and of course this does prevail across the bookselling community. The BA Group has been careful over many years to develop a range of products and services which deliver great value to booksellers, including batch and national book tokens. Now, the MPA always struggled to justify a membership fee of around £500 to its members, whilst clearly the value provided by the BA is clear to see, which is way in excess of the subscription fee charged. The finance team that I have inherited are strong and loyal, providing a solid foundation. However, I am confident that I can share some of my previous experience and provide opportunities to do things slightly differently, which I hope will benefit both the team and the business and you as the membership. Now, this is the interesting stuff. So here we are at the numbers. Looking at the results for the year ending the 31st of October 2023, as yet unsigned, audited but unsigned, you will note a significant increase in both income and overheads. Now, this represents a full year post-pandemic, providing all of those services that Meryl so eloquently articulated in terms of what the team worked so hard to deliver. I am sure that you are aware of a lot of these activities, but the online learning and development platform and the development of Batchline into a market-leading proposition are two of the most important. And we have also benefited last year from a one-off donation from the Unwins Charitable Trust. There was also a change in accounting policy to recognise the volume of vouchers which are ultimately not exchanged in book tokens, and this is reflected in the accounts. The book tokens business is underpinned by the receipt of cash in advance of the exchange of vouchers, so we are very fortunate to hold a portfolio of investments. And whilst the market returns have been mixed recently, it still generates a sizable income stream from dividends and interest. Turning to the balance sheet, the BA continues to have strong reserves to support the business strategy, which, as we know, is to provide as comprehensive a range of member benefits as possible. So, my conclusion in these early days on the financial health of the BA is simple. Member subscriptions have remained low for a very, very long period because of the strength of our reserves. However, the budget for the current financial year reflects an increasing operating deficit as we want to invest in our member services as fully as possible. And my focus, as you would expect, is to ensure that we remain focused on balancing the books and making sensible decisions on what our funds are invested in. Thank you very much.
I need to see my thing. Yeah. Because I was having a coughing fit, I forgot the crucial introduction to Phil and Alex. But thank you very much. I mean, I think it's really important that we can paint that picture very openly. I think the finances for many years have been created and bolstered by the good sense we had nearly 100 years ago, actually, when Book Tokens was established with foresight and vision. And the BA is very much a group of companies, and we see our services to members coming from all three arms of the group, as I hope we've demonstrated, from the BA, from Batch and Batchline, and from Book Tokens. The truth is that most of the money originates in the Book Tokens bit of the business, and due to the sound investments made over very many years, it is managed with great care and prudence. But the truth is that without the investment income, as well as profitable commercial model, the long-standing access we've had to our own funding, rather than have to go outside to get it, the BA Group wouldn't have been able to invest in bookselling in the way that we've been able to. And I think we're incredibly lucky to be able to have done that. That investment, as Phil's already alluded to, includes things like having had no increase in the minimum sub. It includes things like free conference and events attendance for all BA events for all members. It includes things like the acquisition of Bertline and the transformation into Batchline, sorry. It includes the sustainability grants we've been able to give out, COVID recovery grants, diversity grants. It includes Book Tokens investment in World Book Day over the last 25 years, and the massive amount of consumer advertising and promotion that Book Tokens has been able to do. So the finances of the BA Group are the bedrock of our success, and we count ourselves very lucky to be stewards, really, of this remarkable organisation. And I'm not saying this to school anybody in the room, because I think you probably all know this. We're together in all this, and I've said it many times, the BA only exists, the group only exists for the benefit of bookselling. There's no point to us without you. And our remit really is to secure your existence. We're a membership organisation first and foremost. And I think what we want to do, Alex is going to explain the Book Token scheme in a bit more detail, partly because there's a lot of new members who haven't necessarily worked with it for that long. And I think we want to work with you to maximise the benefit of all of the services that we're able to provide. So Alex is he's done some market research with some booksellers, and he's going to tell you the story of Book Tokens.
Thank you, Meryl. and bless you for calling it market research. I had a lot of coffees with people and chatted quite a lot about book tokens. So this is a biennial thing. We talk about book tokens, and I don't think there are any plans to make it more regular than that, unless huge public demand. Why we're doing it at the moment, I'm going to go through in some detail, then I'm going to talk about the selling and redeeming of book tokens, the commercial model, and the pros and cons. Sorry, I'm going to move here so you can see me. And then I'm going to get on to cash flow and do a little mini case study about cash flow, because I know cash flow is probably a bigger issue for booksellers. So why? As I said, we did some market research over coffee. And I was speaking to a number of booksellers, some with a lot of experience, some without a huge amount of experience, asking them about their understanding of the commercial terms of book tokens and asking them about other issues relating to book tokens. Interestingly enough, there wasn't a single bookseller I spoke to who understood fully, looking at you, Nick, yes, the commercial terms of book tokens. Some were quite close. Now, we understand that we think about book tokens a lot. At book tokens, that's what we do, and we also understand you've got much better things to think about. You've got books to sell, and book tokens will only ever be a small percentage of your business. However, what we found from most people is that there's an element of trust. And as you can see from these quotes, I've sold a few, not sure how the finances work. I don't know the exact numbers. I think that might have been Nick. I've never thought about it. I've no idea. I trust that they sort themselves out. Now, this is great. Trust is great. But we kind of think that, given some of the other conversations we've seen, if we relied just on trust, I guess misapprehension can creep in, and we get some of the quotes that we saw on social media last year. I've got the wrong glasses, I can't read anything. I only sell our own gift cards because National Book Tokens cost us money. Financially, it makes no sense at all. Christmas is always bad for book tokens. That concerns us, that sort of language, obviously. So, I mean, part of the reason for talking about this today and part of the reason for our coffee mornings with booksellers is to understand where this comes from. Luckily, that isn't the majority. The majority of people are more in this camp. And interestingly, what we've also found is that there are two different schools of thought. So a couple of people told me they much prefer selling book tokens to redeeming. The majority probably prefer to redeem, but differences of opinions. I like the value statement. I can't understand the value statement. We're not explaining ourselves very well, and we understand that. I think two more important themes I want to touch on is one is about how some booksellers view it as a service rather than a valuable product that they're selling, and they pigeonhole it as a service. And we think, whilst it obviously is a great service, it is also a valuable product which drives business. So we want to try and address some of that. And this other one is about somebody saying to me, I like it when you pay me, not so much when I pay you. Now that, whilst it's understandable, it misunderstands that they only ever pay us if they've sold a lot. So they're saying they don't like it when they sell a lot of book tokens. They don't like being successful because they have to pay us for it. And obviously that's a misunderstanding which shows, again, we're not communicating properly because we want people to enjoy selling book tokens. Sales commission. So, very, very, Nick, repeat after me. 11.5% you earn when you sell a book token. That's the headline that we want everybody to go away with, 11.5%. But I'm going to go through some of the pros and cons of this. Pros of selling book tokens. Okay, there are no costs when you sell a book token. Everything is provided to you free. Invoicing is always after the sale. It's a cash flow positive business. It requires very little management time. Once you set it up, it runs itself. Payments flow to and from. Requires very little space. Now, we are bigger than some genres of books, and books will take you time to pick, time to arrange. We're a little unit, so big. And we're bigger than some of those genres. We're probably more valuable to some of you than some of the genres that you take time. So the very little spacing is a factor. Sales are often accompanied by other purchases, greetings cards especially, but you told us specifically that people come in to buy a book token. You know they've come in to buy a book token. They've gone up to the till to buy a book token. They said, oh, while I'm here, there's a book I've just noticed. It brings that. Sorry, I'm having to look over here because I can't.
Just put them on.
But I can't see that, Meryl, if I put them on. Sales are pre-planned. This is also very important. You've told us this, but we've done a lot of research into this. So over 80% of sales are pre-planned. People are coming to your shop specifically to buy a book token. It's never a lost book sale. It is rarely a lost own voucher sale. And I'm going to come back onto that in a second. Sales bring new customers. So a lot of people who are buying book tokens aren't necessarily your heavy book buyers who come in regularly. They might be the people who, grandparents, aunts, we love aunts, who do love aunts. They come in less regularly because they're sending it somewhere else. There are some cons of selling, and we have to be open about these. You might have been able to sell your own voucher, but I'm going to come on to why we think that's rare. And there's a low margin argument. Some people say 11.5% is low margin. But we would argue, we would argue this, there are no costs, cash flow positive, you never pay for anything in advance, and as such, 11.5%, isn't as bad as it might seem when you compare to all that money you have tied up in book stock. Redemptions, the other side of the story. So redemptions, you will get 86.5% for every book token you redeem. Some people look at me like, you're mad, I'd never get that much. Pros and cons of redeeming. Okay, so big redemption pro is footfall and incremental sales. Obviously, redemptions bring in existing customers, but they also bring in new customers. They bring in existing customers more regularly, but they bring in customers you may have never seen before who you can turn into regular customers. And again, a number of bookshops say they recognize this. They can see somebody coming with a book token for the first time. They have that conversation with them, and they have an interesting conversation with them about the existence of the bookshop. Gift cards are frequently used towards higher price purchases. People view them as free money. So they're going to go in and buy hardbacks. They're going to go and buy multiple books. And again, like the sales, requires very little management time. The cons of redeeming. Now I've put a big if. It was a big if for my computer at home. It's quite a small if here at the back. A big if. If you have not got a corresponding sale, there is a 13.5% marketing cost. Now I'm going to come to this, what I mean by a corresponding sale, in a second. Redemptions can slow down cash flows. If you're redeeming a lot more than you're selling in a period, you're obviously not going to get paid for those redemptions until we settle up the following month. If these are books which you've already paid for, as opposed to books which you haven't paid for yet, there's a cash flow negative there. Now, I'm going to go on to what I mean by a corresponding sale and redemption. So, if you take the 11.5% for sales, the 86.5% for redeeming, that's 98%. A corresponding sale is where those match. So it doesn't mean you've sold and redeemed the same specific book token. It means the values match. I'm going to come over here because I can't see anything. So this is the average. You can't see anything now. That's rubbish, isn't it? That's the average ratio. 100 book tokens sold to 75 redeemed. 4:3 ratio for sales to redemptions. If you look at that, the 11.5% you earn on the 100 added to the 86.5% you earn on the redemptions will equal 98% for that 75% of your business. The 25% at the top, that's what's earning you the low margin, the 11.5%, which I obviously argue isn't a low margin anyway. The 75% of your business, the 75% of all your book tokens is earning you 98% margin. That's a 2% cost for us to deliver all that marketing, all those different cards, all that point of sale, and all the support we give to the BA, which Meryl mentioned. Okay. Cash flow. So cash flow is the problem area, probably. And I'm going to talk, this is a true story. Cash flow works throughout the seasons, and there is a January bill we have to recognize. So what I've done, I've looked at one specific bookshop, a medium-sized bookshop in the East Midlands, and this is their actual sales and redemptions for 2000, I'm going to have to put my glasses on, 2023. They sold £8,925 worth of and redeemed 6,644. Over 1,000 transactions, that means over 1,000 customer visits, 21 a week. If you look at that, throughout the year, sales and redemptions are roughly similar, ticking along. They had greater redemptions in January, February, as you'd expect. They also had a strong April. You then see sales, the blue, tick up in November and December, and that big increase in December sales. It's important to recognise that by the end of December, this bookshop had taken £3,567 of customers' money. So it's not their money, it's not our money, it's customers' money. It remains customers' money until it's redeemed, and that's an important thing to recognise. But they have taken that. The other big thing on this one is to recognise the variance between what they sold and what they redeemed in December. So £2,800 difference. Now that's what causes the problem. That causes a liability. It causes a bill in January. And when we look at the movement of cash between this bookseller and us, so this is, remember, a true story, what we can see is across the first 11 months of the year, very equal. Get to the end of November, we've actually sent more money to this bookseller than they've sent to us. They've about 350 quid. You hit that January bill, triggered by December, and suddenly they've got a £2,500 bill to us. On the face of it, that says to some people, well, £2,100 has flowed from my business to you. This is the cash flow debate. We would say the people who are saying that are forgetting that they've sold 8,900 in the first place. That sale has triggered that. So this is the actual cash flow position for that bookshop across the year. You can see even in December, triggering a big January bill, over £1,000 of the money that they have taken has stayed with them. Cash flow positive. I am now going to move on to some other things that were talked about. Less about the commercials, more about, I guess, some of the politics of book tokens. Some other themes. I'm not happy that I sell less. I redeem less than I sell. So this is a little bit of a red-faced moment for us. We're not happy about that. The ideal of book tokens is you sell and redeem roughly the same amount. If one of these things is massively out of kilter, some of the business doesn't seem to make as much sense. We do a lot to drive high street redemption of book tokens. And we probably do a lot to drive that specifically to indies, but definitely to the high street. But we can't direct people where to spend their book tokens. There is a kind of a dynamic at play where book tokens are given, I'm coming back to aunts, we do love the aunts, but given by an older person to a younger person. Younger populations tend to be more city-based or may go to the city for a treat to spend their book token. So you will find that city-based bookshops will tend to redeem more. And there is a flow, and there's not much we can do about it. We are doing a lot to try and increase redemption. So over the last couple of years, redemption through indies have gone up by 18%, which is more than sales have gone up. And it's important to remember that sales and redemptions through indies are an equal share of the total pot. So around 16% of all sales are through indies, and around 16% of all redemptions are through indies. I prefer to sell my own vouchers. So this comes on to the thing I was going to say earlier about why we don't think they're the same thing at all. This again is another true story. Same bookshop in the East Midlands. This is based on their sales and redemptions in October 2022. So I've picked October 2022 so we can make sure that they've all been redeemed, or as many as possible. This bookshop had a strong October for redemptions. They redeemed 47, they sold 25. Of the ones they sold, 52% were redeemed in other bookshops across the country, which is obviously the purpose of book tokens. 8 were redeemed back with the bookshop. Now that's an opportunity for obviously them to have done their own sales of their own voucher, and we would recognise that. But we would also say, remember that point earlier, that there's a 2% cost tied up with those. Running your own voucher is hassle, is headache, especially if you're doing it properly, especially if you're recognising the liability properly. We're doing all that for a 2% cost. Some weren't redeemed so far. The redemption story, I think, is more interesting. Of the book tokens they redeemed, 26% were sold in supermarkets across the country. An incremental business. It's unlikely that you're going to get your own voucher into a supermarket unless you have a particularly close relationship with them. 33% were sold in other bookshops across the country. Again, this is East Midlands, so it comes from Yorkshire, Manchester, Surrey. 9 of those that they sold, 9 of the 11 that they redeemed were from chain bookshops. 9 of the ones they redeemed were sold in their shop. 7 online, again giving national coverage. 4 were company benefits, so we work with company benefit programs. Again, incremental business which you wouldn't be able to get yourself. And there's a couple that have come from things like high five and marketing schemes. In summary, margin on sales is 11.5%. They are always cash flow positive. It's mainly incremental business, and it is totally risk-free. Redemptions at 86.5%, added to 11.5% is a 2% cost, and it brings in new business. There is seasonality, we recognise that, and that brings a certain lumpiness to the cash flow and the invoicing. But you've always taken the money in advance. So everything that you're handing over to us is money you've already got in your till, and it's not your money, it's not our money, it's the customer's money. So it's passing that on for us to look after. And, as I touched on, we deliver national reach that we don't think your own vouchers can do. Finally, to end on a little quote, one of my coffee mornings shared with me, that I feel like I've set a book token free into the world. She likes book tokens. The start of a book buying journey. Unless you have any questions, thank you very much.
What percentage of book tokens are never redeemed because they're lost, forgotten, destroyed, burned, useless toilet paper, whatever?
Useless toilet paper, that would be tricky, wouldn't it? So, in the first year after selling a book token, you'd expect 90 to 95% to be spent at some level. That's where the bulk of them happen. So you've got then obviously a tail of other ones being spent. We keep a liability open for 8 years, so we monitor that, and it goes down and down and down and down. But yes, you'd expect in the first year about 90%, 95% to be spent.
So they expire after 8 years. How many are never redeemed?
That's confidential.
Because that's extra on the 2%. That's what I'm getting at. I'm trying to understand the economics fully.
Yeah, so that money is handed over to the BA and invested back in book selling activity, but it's not something that we would ever share in an open forum.
You just criticized us not understanding the economics, so I was curious.
Noted.
They're always on.
Well, they expire at 8 years.
We're talking about the accounting. They are always on. We still get paper tokens, thousands of pounds every month of paper tokens, which are honoured. So there's no expiry date on your book token.
Okay, cool. Did you?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Meryl. And thank you, Phil. So now we're at open forum where the advisory council members and the vice presidents and me and the BA staff are willing to have questions from the audience either in the room or on Zoom. So first of all, can I ask the advisory council members who are in the audience to stand up and show yourselves? Oh, excellent. So we've got a good sprinkling of advisory council members, and it's a really good forum, and we get really good debates on it. And have you got questions for us? Anybody got a question? I think council members, you can sit down now. Any questions? Have we got any questions online, Alan? No? No questions? Oh.
I just wondered. Thank you. I just wondered, for us as a bookshop, we have ventured into a book festival, and it's something that more and more bookshops are doing. And I guess I'm just throwing something into the ether, really, in terms of, have the BA considered, how we support book festivals as opposed to book shops? Because they are still part of bookshop and book selling, but it's a very different entity. And there are lots of, and I don't just mean in terms of a learning thing, I can't remember what it's called, sorry, it's been a long day. But just overall, is it something that you're thinking about looking at? Because I personally feel that as time goes on, we're going to move more and more away from these giant festivals, and move into more localized things, which that burden then does fall onto independent bookshops.
I think that's one for Meryl.
One of the things that we need, and Fleur and I have been talking about this quite a lot, is how we, as an organisation, make sure that we represent new types of booksellers, because we're obviously, and it's been to our advantage in years, that high street independents or the high street chains are part of that cohort, but people are selling books in different ways, and we need to keep up with that. And I think we've possibly taken our eye off the ball on that a little bit. So we do have pop-up bookshops join the BA, and we've got very liberal membership criteria, so we're not saying no to anybody except Amazon, really. So, which I assume you approve of. But I think we need to get a wee bit better at finding those people selling books in different ways. And I think we probably need to rely on our members to some extent to help us with that. We need to go into communities that we might not have been in before. And some of the work that we were doing with bookshop.org around New Futures was around, like trying to find book selling going on in other places. So I think we're alive to it, but we're not very good at it yet, and I think we need to get better at it. So I think, is that what you were getting at, like the different types of selling, yeah? Fleur, do you want to say anything? Yeah?
I think it's just about the event in general, isn't it? And like the festival is just another type of event that you are perhaps taking on yourselves to run because maybe there's not one in your community or what have you. So I think, from Nick's event about the economics of events, I think it's something that we just have to sort of develop as we find the need that we need to have the professional tools to sort of be able to sort of manage it in a way that works for us financially, and whether that's in conversations with publishers or, between ourselves. And I think it's just something that we just have to sort of find a way to grow and sort of manage so that it is a really viable part of our own business, because I think it's a separate thing when it's like literary festivals in the way that they work with us. And that's like a whole different conversation in the way that so many of them don't even advertise the books or the booksellers or what have you. So I feel that there's a lot there, and we just have to kind of like keep the conversation and sort of work out exactly what we need and from who. So.
Thank you, Fleur. Any other questions? I'll take my glasses off so I can see you. Any other questions? Just to say that the Advisory Council members are there to represent booksellers to on the board and at the regular meetings we have. So if you've got something that is worrying you, or you're getting a bee in your bonnet and you want something done about it, the Advisory Council members are all on the BA's website, so find the one who's nearest to you, or the one that you like, or the one you think is going to be the gobbiest, and put your case forward really well. Do please talk to the Advisory Council members. That's what we're all there for. thank you all very much for coming, and we'll see you for a drink in the bar.